Hey, Coach Scott here to talk to you about what is the right bike for your 7 and 8-year-old child. Hey, good news. Just like the 20-inch bike for the 5 and 6-year-olds, a 24-inch wheel is going to get you 2 years of use, most likely. So at 7 years old, I want you to be thinking about a 24-inch wheel. Now, there are a bunch of decisions to make beyond just wheel size when we're talking about this type of bike. The first one is, what type of terrain is your child going to be riding on? Now, if a child's riding on just a neighborhood street and some greenway pathways, a small skinny tire like this one is going to be just fine. It's going to be light, it's going to roll really fast, it's going to be really nimble. This tire can also manage some light duty mountain biking too, so some dirt trails that aren't too aggressive. Once a child starts to get into some more mountain biking with rocks and roots and single track trails, we're going to be looking for a wider tire than this. So tire width is one of the first choices you're going to be thinking about when it comes to a 24-inch bike. Okay, the next choice that you're going to be thinking about is suspension or not. If you notice, this bike does not have any suspension, meaning that the wheel can't go up and down when you hit a bump. So this bike is what we call a rigid bike. It's nice and light, and it keeps the price point down. When you start to ride off-road more, kids are going to really benefit from having at least a front suspension fork on here. So this fork goes up and down when you hit a bump, smooths out the ride for the child, and it also keeps the child safer, because as you hit a rock or you hit an obstacle on the trail, if your bike gets deflected off and pinged around, you can't hold your line, not as safe. Of course, you'll notice the tires are a bit wider here as well. Okay, once you get into the realm of suspension, you'll also notice that the 24-inch wheel size, we have options for full suspension as well, meaning that there is a shock in the back of the bike and the front suspension fork also goes up and down. Ultimate control, right? You hit a bump, you hit some rough terrain, the tires are going to stick to the ground because the suspension will activate and keep the child on track and safe. We do recommend full suspension bikes if the budget allows. For any ability level mountain biker, it's a smoother, safer ride. It's just more fun. But if you have a child who's hitting a lot of jumps and really riding aggressively, strongly consider a full suspension bike because it will keep them safer. And here's why. If a child goes up in the air, gets a little bit crooked in the air, and comes down back to the ground crooked, a full suspension bike has a greater likelihood of saving the child from falling. It can absorb landing that isn't done perfectly and keep the child going, back on track safely down the trail. So full suspension bikes have the knobbier tires. They've got lots of traction. They also will have a different type of braking system. So now we're looking at disc brakes on the wheel versus a rim brake where you have brake pads up on the rim here. A disc brake has a lot more stopping power because of where it's located on the wheel. So again, we're talking safety here. Child needs not squeeze the lever super hard to slow down. A light touch of the brake lever, the bike is going to stop and stay in control, and modulate speed too, so it's not just a full stop. Disc brakes come in either cable actuated or hydraulic. This bike happens to be a hydraulic brake, so there's fluid running all through this hose that compresses and stops this brake. It's just like a car brake. Okay, one other feature that you'll see sometimes on a 24-inch bike is the dropper seat post. We love dropper seat posts for kids. It makes it so much easier to get on and off the bike. They can lower the seat down before they get on, and they can lower the seat before they start to descend technical terrain. So the dropper seat post is a great upgrade and allows for a lot more stability, control, and again, having fun. The one last thing I want to point out on 24-inch bikes is gear ratio. So you're going to have a lot of choices in how big the gears are in the back. The bigger the gear, the easier the climbing. We really recommend having only one gear in the front, which means you need a bigger range in the back. So take a look at the gearing choices and make sure that for the terrain your child's going to ride, the bike is geared appropriately for them. Happy to talk that through with you at any point. So come on down to Buddy Pegs and we'll get you more info about these 24-inch bikes for your 7 or 8-year-old child. And in the meantime, keep your thumbs up and the rubber side down.